How you going, everyone? In interwebs world, Facebook and YouTube.
I said yes.
Right.
So, your better half, has she done some more of her biography?
No, not at the moment. She can't do it on the windy days, so she's sanding today. If you hear a noise in the background, that's Amber.
I would think that a breeze would blow the smoke away from you.
No, it tends to cool the unit down too quick, and it doesn't get a chance to reheat back up.
Okay.
How you going, John?
You need my. G'day, John C. You need my pyrography machine.
Yeah, I do, but I'm not paying that much.
No, well, that's right. It'll burn a hole through a piece of plywood.
Yeah, I bet. John, this is it's peppercorn. Look at that, lovely splits. And I'm just going to try and make a winged bowl. I'm going to try because it may fall apart.
Is there anybody watching on Facebook? Do you know Jay or not?
No, not yet. It comes up on my screen on StreamYard when someone is.
Oh, yeah, because it doesn't come up here, I don't think.
No, just for the host, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to adjust this camera a little bit.
Boy, that camera's fine.
Yeah, it's looking at my tailstock too much, isn't it? You think?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
It's got the head. It's got everything in it, so.
Too much of me, maybe.
Yeah, Robo, today's a. Oh, there's.
Howdy.
Ah, Jameson.
How you going, Jamison?
Howdy.
Hello.
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hello,
Everybody,
Jamison.
How you going, Cade?
pretty good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hey, Robo.
G'day, Cade.
Hey, Robo.
And our host today, of course, is Jay, who You might be in, might have been in several things that I've sent you to because he shows up on my call list as invites. But I said, this is an interesting group. It's like hanging out at the lathe in a friend's shop.
It's
Oh, I was just making sure that it wasn't like a members only thing.
no. It's peppercorn. It's got a little bit of spalting in it somewhere. It may stay in there and it may not. So. But I've got boatloads of this wood lying around, so it's just if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I don't really care.
What'd you say your temperature was?
It is 24C and 81F.
Yeah.
Nice and sunny.
Yeah, we got snow here.
Yeah, you can pick that up.
-5C here.
So what you got up in Canada?
It's been snowing all day, raining for 2 days, and then today I woke up, it's been snowing all day, and it's supposed to snow all night. So should have probably, I don't know, 35, 40 centimeters in the morning on the ground.
Yeah, we missed some of that as it went across, but of course, when it crosses the lakes, it always picks up moisture and dumps it on you guys.
Mm-hmm. Whips up around the lakes and circles back to dump on us.
I'm afraid you can have your snow. It's cold, wet, slushy stuff as far as I'm concerned.
I don't mind it, but it's fun driving and drifting around everywhere.
It's funny. I've only ever driven on ice once, and we get a thing out here called, well, you get it all over the world. It's called black ice, where you get a breeze up through a valley or something and water on the road and it freezes, and it scared the hell out of me. So I'm glad I don't run into it very often.
That's good. Yeah, it's not fun when you're not expecting it. Your heart jumps out of your chest.
It's like bumper cars at the carnival when you do it on the highway, especially when you're in the Detroit ditch. That's what we refer to as our big I-94. It's all underground or below the ground level. But I've seen 401 be really a mess, and that's what I go to get up where Cade's at. Well, at least up to Brantford and Toronto.
Yeah, the 401 goes east to west through Ontario, and it gets quite icy and wet. I remember last year I was driving down the road in my Mustang, and I had winter tires on it, but I hit ice. I did a 360 and continued going in the direction I was traveling.
Lucky.
Yeah,
I've done that in a rally car.
It's happened a couple times, but you don't try to do it on purpose. Especially with all the transport and crap on the road, you'll be squished like an ant.
Are you allowed to run? Like, do you run studs in your tires for that sort of condition, or is it just normal winter tread tires?
No, it depends where you are in Canada. North, like in Quebec, you can have studded tires depending whereabouts you are. In Ontario, Maritimes, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, you're not allowed studded tires. Alberta and BC, you're not allowed studded tires, but if you live in the mountains, you're allowed studded tires. Some places you can put chains on your tires. But
that's what I was going to ask next. What about chains?
Yeah, you can't do it in most towns, but if you're up in the mountains or north in the middle of nowhere where you get like tons of snow, you can put chains on your tires. But if one breaks or you pop a tire, it rips your whole fender up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I like the Mercedes have fantastic. Jay, that's moved in the chuck. That's moved off centre, I think.
Yeah,
Just check your tailstock and everything, please.
that's
Or you're going to
cracked quite a
demolish the
bit.
shed. Yeah, it's got a lot of cracks in it. But
Almost goes
what
right
was I
through.
going to say? Mercedes have the best snow setup I've ever seen. It's like a three-legged claw with a centre nut in it. And it's like three blades that go across the wheel and the tyre, and you just tighten the central nut up. And it's as bumpy as hell to drive on, but geez, I tell you what, it digs into ice real good.
Huh, that's cool. I've never seen that yet.
No, I've only
I'll
ever
look
seen
first.
them once.
Well, when I was in Alaska for the 9 years, we had chains all the time on the tires, at least from October through March, actually sometimes May.
Yeah, it ruins all our roads around here. But if you're in the middle of nowhere where it's mostly snow and mountains, they don't seem to care.
Well, I can chop up roads pretty badly, I must admit, particularly bitumen.
The transports do enough of that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of surprising, and I haven't seen it in the newspapers yet or on the nightly news, but usually the first snow, the number of car accidents and spin-outs are always on the news, and fantastic pictures of multiple car tie-ups, and because it's new again. You'd think that people live here enough to know that you can't go 70 and then stop at a traffic light. You end up sliding through the light, and that just doesn't work too well, especially when the truckers don't know any better.
Yeah. I find it's a lot of the trucks in the ditch because they think they're invincible with their four-wheel drive and their big truck tires. They're the ones in the ditch driving like idiots.
Yeah.
And I just wave as I drive my Mustang GT right on by.
I've always had Jeep products, and I had no problem with chains on those. The Jeep was lifted, and I had big off-road tires. And they aren't cheap. They were like $300 to $400 a tire. But I used to go. If you've ever done any jeeping, it's called rock climbing with them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
with the lifts, had it tricked out. When you trick it out, it becomes a gas guzzler.
Yeah. Same when you start lifting these trucks and putting the big tires on them, you can almost just see the gas gauge like go down as you're driving.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of rubber to be moving.
Yeah.
And then what's worse is that most of these are idiots because they'll put big tires on. And if they do a chassis lift, they can put a bigger tire on in diameter.
Yeah.
And then they forget to change the gear for the speedometer. Then they get tickets and don't know why. But I was only doing 50 on my dashboard. Yeah, but did you change the speedometer gearing?
Yeah.
They only get one warning for that.
I wondered about that, if it would change it drastically.
Oh yes. You go from a 14 to a 16. That's a big difference. But a lot of states have made it a requirement of the shop when you buy the tires. Most people don't do their own lift kits and all that. They just want to buy it tricked out. But if the shop does that, they're responsible for changing the gear.
Yeah, yeah. There's very few people up here who do it on their own. There's specific truck shops that do all the lifts and soup up your truck.
Well, in Australia, you've got to have an engineer if you start doing things like that. Not allowed to do it without special permission.
Oh, okay. Get it all cleared and signed off by the engineer tech guy. That's good to cover
What
their
they
ass.
don't realise, what they don't realise is that it alters all the steering geometry and the suspension geometry as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone that's serious about doing that, if they read any magazines or journals on it or belong to a club, they soon learn that.
Yeah.
My first off-roader was a Ford Bronco, and the one I had was actually, I got it a year before they released them. It was one of the cars, one of a fleet of 30 that were built just to run around and have people within the company from the motor pool just use them for errands and stuff like that in order to see what the public thought. They do that a lot around here in Dearborn, Detroit area. You'll look at a car and say, that looks familiar, and you wonder, is that a prototype they have out to see how many people are going to look at it? But they do that all the time. They put them out in their fleet. And my first was a Ford Bronco before the Bronco was released. And I could never get parts to fix it. And until I had a friend of mine, mechanic, said, well, I'll get them for you because they made it up of a bunch of other parts. Nothing was custom except the frame, and it was actually a truck frame that they cut down. Just the body itself was custom. Then I knew whose rear end, whose transmission, whose transfer case, and that. So when I took it in to get something fixed, I'd give them a list. This is what's in it. I had a ball with that.
We're fortunate where we live. The General Motors Holdens, which is part of GM, of course, no longer in Australia, of course, but their proving ground or test ground is 20 kilometres down the road from us, and we're on a major highway. And whenever a new model was released, we saw it at least a month or 6 weeks before it actually got released to the public, whereas the motoring magazines used to go to great pains to try and get pictures of them and all that sort of thing. Even going to the extent of flying helicopters over the proving ground to photograph them. All we had to do was sit on the side of the highway and see them being driven past. Admittedly,
Yeah.
with a few disguising panels and things on them, but we could always tell they were a new model coming out.
Yep. That's what we see all the time, at least when we were allowed out. But that's the way it's always been with Ford.
Oh, you're in Motoring City there, so all it used to be.
Yep, still is.
You're very quiet in the background there, John. John C. I suppose with us yakking it.
Is he on the panel too?
No, he's not. He's just typing in his responses.
He's in.
Oh yeah.
He's in Charles Deering's live, so he's most likely swapping between the chats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's why he knew I was coming over here.
Okay, cool.
Is that called two-timing?
I guess.
So how?
It was getting a little crowded over there.
Cade, what did you think of the bowl this afternoon?
It
You're
was
muted,
pretty.
Jay.
The one Paul did in
Yes.
for the
Yeah.
AAW. It was cool.
When you drop Cade, sorry, when you drop out, Cade, like no one can hear you until I re-add you to the stream. So yeah, so that's why I have to keep popping everyone back on the screen.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I'm sort of just trying to figure out this app. Thanks.
Good.
Oh, I've been on it for 6 months and I'm still learning how to drive the thing, I tell you. Hello there.
Yeah, it's different. It works though. I forget what I was saying. I got.
Oh, I was asking you about the bowl today, the thin turn bowl.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was pretty cool. It was a good demo. He did a good demo. He always does a pretty good demo. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched bits and pieces of it because I had to. I was sort of working at the exact same time, so I had a few projects and items I had to work on and whip off the lathe at the same time. But I always shut down here and there to hear what was going on and to engage with the crowd and chat, and so. But it was good. I do a lot of live edge bowls and thin wall turning, so. Anything live edge is probably one of my more favorite things to turn. We're off center, get the adrenaline running.
Amen. I did. I don't know if you saw it, but I posted it. The square bowl, and was teaching a friend of mine how to do it, and he did the rough part of the bowl, but he kept hitting his knuckles and was getting blood on the lathe, and I don't like blood on my lathe. So
I wouldn't either.
it was like he had to go, and when he comes and uses my lathe, I'm 6 foot apart, and we both have masks on, and I'm watching what he's doing to make sure, because he hasn't got one. So, and he's a member of the club, but an old time friend of mine. So I ended up taking it as it was just rough turned out and then finishing it. And as you can see in some of my pictures I posted on Facebook, I do it a little unconventionally. No one ever said you can't use a palm sander or a belt sander on a lathe, but that's a nice way of getting the flat edges.
I use a belt sander quite often on the stuff I turn, or my favourite one is an 8-inch or a 9-inch angle grinder with a sanding disc in it.
That works well. I've never used the orbital sander, but I use drills with sanding disc in it to sand with. Never used a belt sander on the lathe. But.
No, we do real turning here, which is spindle turning, but up to 40 feet long, so it takes too long to sand by hand.
Oh yeah, yeah. Spindle turning's fun.
That's real turning.
And you guys remember, I think I've sent everybody an invitation for our Christmas party, but I gotta get Sarge's address so I can send him an invite to attend our club Christmas party. I think people enjoy it. There's going to be gifts and toasts, and it's a BYOB party in this case.
We catch John Cologne at home on camera. Pass around some virtual cookies and gingerbread men.
Well, we pass cookies all the time when we're online. But I got my good friend Ron Campbell. He said that he'd come join us. And he's fairly well known. Well, he bought out a carbide company. It's AZ Carbide now, and he's a big distributor. And he designs carbide.
Yeah.
But he was my beta tester for the deep hollowing system that I put together for Carter Products, for Carter Industries here in Michigan. And we become good friends. Had another beta tester in the group, except he's passed away. So I come up with something you want and need and whatever. It's he has two prices: a professional price that is not advertised. You just call him and order it, and you get the professional price if he knows you. So I thought I'd try to get him because he's known in our club. It was quite a shock because the club had no idea that I designed tools. I was just this old fart in the, sitting and watching all the meetings. And then Ron comes and he's internationally known, comes in and just set up my system. And he was demonstrating it to the club. And it was like, well, the designer of this, he's just sitting right out there. And everyone turned almost as if they had robotic heads and stared at me. And all I could do is sit there and grin. Because I couldn't talk about it because it was classified. So we're good friends. And he's going to come to the Christmas party now. And more than likely, he's going to leave have a bunch of his gift certificates that can be raffled off or chosen by, random to the members and the attendees for discounts or free cutters. He does that quite often.
Now, you said something there before, Bob, about need or want. They're two totally different things, and generally the want replaces the need in most wood turners things.
Yes. Yeah. It's like an artist. Well, we are wood artists that says, oh, I just wish I had that color. Or what type of treatment did you do to the canvas? Or like Jay's lovely side, hey, that tip of my wood burning or pyography set is going to be great. I need one to try. You just get addicted to your hobby.
Yeah, for sure. It's an addiction. We're wood collectors, tool collectors, and
well, at my age, that's all I've got left is my shop. And a big library of wood turning books and magazines, years and years of the AAW stuff. And I don't know, big crates. Leave it when I kick the bucket, the club's going to get it all and put it in their library.
Going to interrupt for a minute. Jay, check that crack on that corner. Where does it run to on the face? Or what's going to be the top of the bowl?
comes into the tenon too.
You talking about this one?
No, go back towards your one. There's one crack, big one there. That one. And then there's one up on the corner that runs out. Oh, you moved it too quick. Turn it back to where it was. Turn it back a bit more. Now, no, go up towards your hand. The one sitting on the edge, where does that run?
Yeah. It kind of just goes straight down. That's why you can't see the end of it here, but
does it go more than halfway
I reckon
through?
that whole lot's.
yeah,
I reckon it's going to come out.
Yeah, I expect it to. That's what happened on this side just before.
Yeah.
But like I said,
right. Just be careful.
you live and learn. Just a little bit of glue because I
do. Sorry, I missed that.
I said I'll put the super glue in there because I can hear it chattering.
Yeah, right. What I'd do is finish off all the base of it now, sand it up, or close to sanding. Put your super glue in before you get your final sanding done. Get those cracks filled up before you turn it over.
Hang on. Police going over.
Oh, they're looking for you.
Yeah, they know where I am. No, the local airport where they land, I'm in the flight path for it. So.
Oh, cool.
You're right in the industrial part, aren't you? Railroad track next to you and an airport.
Yeah, the industrial section is on the other side of the train tracks, so yeah, pretty close. Most of South Australia is industrial, though.
Yeah, well, but it's sort of a waste of time putting super glue in there at the moment because you're going to take most of it out when you finish turning it again.
Yeah, I know. I was only putting it in there to try and stop the chatter a little bit, that's all.
Good afternoon, Mr. Steve C.
How you going, Steve?
Howdy, Steve Combs.
I have to ask a question, Kay.
Yeah.
All the plastic stuff you got up the back there. What's going on there?
Well, I have my lathe studio in the basement of my house. So I framed a third of the basement, which has my 2 lathes and all my other woodworking equipment that helps me wood turn. I mean, I have a separate shop which has my joiners, planers, oscillating sanders, routers, and all that stuff. But in my house shop studio, I have a large bandsaw, grinder, 2 lathes, drill press, belt sander, disc sander, and this is where I do the majority of my turning. So I framed in the area, and then I put all this vapor barrier around. I caulked, sealed, and vapor barriered all the walls because behind this wall is my furnace. And probably about 6 months ago, they put in a brand new furnace, and I didn't want, just in case anything ever came off the lathe, God forbid something went through my brand new furnace. And on top of that, I didn't want the dust airborne into my furnace and throughout my house. So I framed in the wall around the furnace, vapor barriered it, sealed it, caulked it and all. And then I had this plastic vapor barrier that goes around the whole room, but it also covers my walls because every time I start my lathe, I don't want to constantly have to clean my shop. So if I need the tool from here, I can grab the tool, it falls right back into place, and I don't constantly have to clean my shelves. I only have to clean my floor.
That's a good idea.
On this side, I can do the same.
Yep.
all falls right back in place. So I have a small area to clean and sand or clean and sweep rather than constantly cleaning my shelves that hold all my materials and tools and all that fun stuff.
What
Cool.
mill plastic is that?
That is the vapor barrier plastic that goes between your walls and the brick when they build your house. When they vapor barrier and seal your house, that's the vapor barrier that goes between your walls.
You don't know the thickness of it?
No, no, I think
Okay.
I don't know. I
Because
think
I buy and
or,
do my shop that way, but I'm kind of stupid, and I'm going to have to put it over top of my tool racks now. It's a great idea, but I have it as an insulator between. I do the insulation in the walls, and then the vapor barrier, and then the plywood, basically to keep the
That's
heat in.
moving, Jay.
yeah, that's a good way to do it too. I think it's like 12 gauge or 14 gauge thick,
Okay.
something like that. It's under a millimeter, but still fairly thick for plastic. It's pretty rigid.
Well, I get the thickest I can. And I don't mind paying the extra bucks because I use a bang stapler to staple it to the studs.
Yeah.
That
Cool.
way the plastic won't tear because of the staples.
Yeah. I did staple some stuff, but the ones that were sort of floating, I have a big cross beam that goes across my joists and it's screwed to the joists, but the plastic is wrapped around that. So if I'm too rough with the plastic, it's not going to rip out of the staples or the nails. It's probably wrapped 3 times around a 1x1 just to keep it stiff and strong and not ripping on me every time I move it.
I like that idea. When I
Yeah,
get rich and can redo a wall, I'll do it that way.
it's pretty handy. When I built the walls, I used 1x6s and I built the shelves right in the 1x6. So I didn't lose any room on the outside of the wall. All the shelves were built right inside of the wall. And it
There's
works.
another one that doesn't know timber. There's another one that doesn't know timber sizes. It's 6x1, not 1x6.
Okay. Same thing.
You just got to laugh at him, Cade, because he's old school, you see, and different measuring stuff, you know.
No, everything's upside down on the bottom of the world.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even the water goes the wrong way.
No,
Steve,
we've proven that doesn't.
wait on. Cade, Steve would like to
Yeah.
know whether you have a YouTube channel, please.
I don't have a YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel and I have it set up, but I haven't done any videos yet for my YouTube. No. But I do have an account and I watch videos. I joined the Conquerors Live with my YouTube account. I just don't have any videos on it yet.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We're having this
plan on it.
discussion yesterday about our timber sizes. Like you say 2x4s, we always say 4x2s. It sounds much better that you're going to somebody with a 4x2 than a 2x4.
Yeah, it sounds a little bigger than it is, I guess, if you put the bigger number in front.
Yeah. No, we always go by the width first, then the thickness, you see.
Oh, okay. We do length, then width, then height.
And as I was saying to Bob yesterday, I can't work out how you get 3-4 or 2-4 or 4-4 and all that sort of thing. It's just absolutely foreign to me.
Yeah, it's different everywhere. The whole millimeter thing was sort of foreign to me until I started going to all these UK and Aussie meters. For stuffs in millimeters, but now I've been more conscious of inches to millimeters and whatnot when I do my demos too.
Yeah, that was a
It's
hard
much
thing when I
easier,
was a kid,
much
Lauren.
easier to
What was that?
much easier to divide metric up. It's much easier to divide metric than it is imperial, I tell you.
No, inches and fractions is far more easier.
Oh,
No,
I hate fractions.
you get something at 13 and 7/8, for instance, and try dividing that in half. You've got to go through mental gymnastics. Whereas if it's 293, it's easy. You know, you just work it out. Divided by 2. Yeah, you're dead right, Steve. 4 by 4s, 6 by 6s, they're easy. Even the Yanks can't mix them up.
Yeah, but the problem is a 2x4 isn't 2 inches by 4 inches, and neither is a 4x4, unless you're buying it custom made from a mill.
So all the sizes in Australia were always done on sawn sizes, and they were always sawn at 4 inches by 2 inches, for instance. And after they were machined, they came in hardwoods. They came down to 3.5 by 1 3/4. Or if it was a softwood, they came down to 3 3/4 by 1 7/8, I think it was. With our metric now, it's 90 by 45, which is still classed as a 4 by 2. So, yeah, it's just the way it is. Like sawn sizes are different than actual machine sizes.
Yeah, but
Hey,
a
excuse me.
2x4 is not 2 inches by 4 inches.
Okay. Sorry, somebody was going to say something there. Jamison, was it?
Yeah, yeah. Look what my wife just got done. Well, she still got to put more epoxy on it.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
You
I
make
just,
the spinners
I'll
for
tell you,
her?
I've made a few, and she's made a few.
Cool.
Yeah, not bad at all.
With the rotisserie motors and parts. So, I figured I'd just show you guys.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very nice. Is it vinyl underneath and epoxy over top? With silver flake
What's
added to
underneath?
the epoxy?
Yeah.
In loving memory.
Well, yeah, but that's vinyl, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
It's sticky photo paper.
and horse's sticky photo paper. The wording is vinyl and the rope, and then two different size glitters.
It's like it's
An epoxy.
Yeah, and then a food grade epoxy over top of it.
Cool. I got one upstairs. I'm gonna go grab it. I have a friend who sort of has been making a couple of those, and she made me one. It'll probably give you an idea to do something different. I'll be right back.
There's my water cup that she made me.
Nice.
Bob may know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Cool. What's that? What's
It's
on it?
the Marine Corps dress blues, the U.S. Marine Corps dress blues. I mean,
Oh,
the idea of it.
cool.
Yeah, we each have our own little nooks and then crannies of crafting.
Yeah, I got an interesting Christmas present from a person that I've never met, but I made an urn for one of their loved ones a couple years ago, and they finally were able to weasel out who made it through the VFW. It's Veterans of Foreign Wars. And I got a airbrush system, including all the accessories. Haven't used it yet, something I'd like to try.
Hey, does Jamison, does your wife, when you're layering the resin on the cup, do you have to keep it spinning until it's completely cured, or do you got to sit
Yeah.
it somewhere to? Yeah.
Well, usually she'll spin it so that she gets the even coat on there, and then when it starts to dry, she can take usually puts it on a PVC pipe with threads, and she can take it
Yep.
off and set it off to the side. Uh, Sometimes she uses uh, either a heat gun or a propane torch to help move all the epoxy across it so it evens out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, the propane torch will take the air bubbles out too, real quick.
Yeah. That's what she usually does at first.
That's cool.
And she'll just keep layering them as they dry until they're the right consistency. Like for that
Yeah.
one there with the glitter, she'll get it to where you can't feel the glitter in there. It's all smooth.
Yep. Yeah. Amber's wanted to try that a couple of times, but I don't want resin flicked all over my lathe, you know.
No, not on that thing. Not on the lathe, but we use the rotisserie motors that go real slow.
Oh
And put
yeah.
a PVC
Yep.
pipe on there and like a Nerf football to shove inside of the cup.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
it's slow turning, and you can just drizzle it on and take your fingers and wipe it on there a little bit.
Okay. Oh, she'll have to do a video for us one day.
She was just talking about that. One of her friends wanted her to do a live on it. Problem is, it's a Christmas gift for another friend that's on her Facebook page.
Yep.
So.
I'll send us a link when it's on.
All right.
Let's see yours, Kate.
Here's one my friend did for me. So on this side, it has my name. They put wood grain, but this is cut out with my name. But underneath in my name, you can see snake scales. And
Oh yeah.
each individual snake scale is a piece of vinyl that was laid on top of one another to create the snakeskin effect. And then the silver flaked green was added to it. But what she did personally for me was I also breed snakes. So I have 8 snakes in my spare room that I breed, and I have 3 boas and 5 pythons. So on this side, she did a snake for me. And on the inside, you can actually see the scales within the snake skin.
Oh
And
yeah.
each vinyl piece is laid to create the snake skin scales in between the wood grain.
Wow. That'll take it ages.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Yes.
I was one of the first ones she did. She just started doing these, and I said, "Oh, I'd like this," and that's sort of an idea. And then my fiance wanted one, so the first 2 she did, she did for free to practice and try out and learn how to do it all. And what she does, just like what Jameson's wife or fiance does, I don't know if I'm getting it wrong. All right. They use also a rotisserie motor, and they have a they built here. Where the hell's my camera? They built a rectangle box, and then on the inside of the box they have 4 different rotisserie motors within this rectangle, and then the prongs of the motors come out 4 little holes, and I turned 4 spindles and drilled the holes exactly dead center on my lathe. Those went over side of the shroud, and then she puts a Nerf football or a foam thing over top, and that's where the cup or sort of stuck on top of that football. And that's exactly what she does too. She turns the motor on. This turns very slowly, and then you drizzle the epoxy
When
over
you're
top
done, turn
and
off the
heat it with the
light.
torch to get rid of the bubbles and whatnot.
No,
So
the kitchen.
now I've ordered one for every family member. They're all getting one for Christmas. So, but they're all personalized to what they like.
Then you can turn coasters for them, and that way it's from both of you.
Yeah, for sure. Both. Well, this is my fiance's best friend's business, so we're sort of supporting her, and she's bought a couple gifts off me for gifts and stuff. You know, support each other in the small business guy.
Well, my wife even has bought the ones that look like bullets, like 50 cal bullets. And one of them she started to do for me just for something I have around the house. But the other one she made it look like a lipstick, where you got the container down at the bottom, and then when it tapers up, the top of it was all red and glittery. That wasn't mine, but that was pretty cool the way she did it. And then she wrote on the side and all that.
Are you
That's
sure it
cool.
wasn't yours?
Yeah.
You can make. You could do like custom beer cap openers out of the 50 cal bullets, and you could decorate them and personalize them with the vinyl and the epoxy.
Yeah, yeah,
That'd be popular in the States, I'm sure.
yeah.
Is that where you're from, Jameson?
Yeah, I live in Arkansas.
Oh, okay, cool. Sweet.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Kansas?
No,
No,
Arkansas.
Kansas.
Because if you drop off the AR, it's Kansas.
Yeah.
No, okay.
It's like a lot of English words, I suppose. But when I was growing up, I must admit, when people said they were from Arkansas, I couldn't find it on the atlas, and I thought, what the hell's this Arkansas? Where's that?
Yeah, they all have nicknames that, unless you live in an area they don't really understand, like we have Yoopers here and trolls in Michigan. And
I know
I'm a
what
troll.
Yoopers and trolls are. Oh, it's
That's
the
all right,
same,
my
same in
neighbor's
Australia, the large. It's the same in Australia, like South Australians are called cockroaches. Sydney, Melbourne or Victorians are called Mexicans. So we got nicknames for all our state people as well, you know. So you get used to it after a while.
We call we kick a Vic Victorians because they stole our Grand Prix. Or Sictorian.
Yeah, we've only just come out of lockdown.
You know, we're going into it now because it's just getting ridiculous here.
Well, I just got out of isolation. I'll be off of quarantine come Monday. I go back to work finally. I've only been out of work for a month for this.
Oh, that's shitty.
You know.
We're in orange here. where I am. Well, I mean, Toronto and Peel and York and a bunch of the surrounding areas, they're all in lockdown, but I'm sort of on the outskirts of the big city, so I'm just in orange right now, but all the idiots are making their way out my way to use my mall and hairdressers because theirs are all closed. So I'm sure my area will be locked up in no time because all of them are coming out here to use what they don't have.
Well, I
Yeah,
was just looking at our
that's the problem.
state site online. Right now, Michigan had 5,792 new cases in the
Today?
last 24 hours.
Ooh,
Wow.
geez, we in Victoria, we went into panic when we reached 400 for the day
Yeah,
and
I
went
think
into
we're
immediate
around
lockdown.
or 6.
The city of Detroit yesterday was 179 new cases.
179,000 or just
No,
179?
179 within the city limits of Detroit.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
We're running out of hospital beds quickly. Right now, there's 4,200 hospital beds tied up within the state with COVID alone.
Yeah, crazy. They'll have to bring in the military boat hospitals.
It won't fit through the St. Lawrence. The
Yeah.
locks are too small.
Ours are starting to get there, but no one goes to the hospitals. That's where all the COVID cases are. So the only people there are the COVID people.
Yeah. Well, the Detroit VA is where I go because they got the specialists that handle Agent Orange. And I got a card a couple days ago saying that it was closed. I have to go to the one in Ann Arbor because there's too many COVID within the hospital. And they've had to pull some of the facilities and convert them to rooms again and by putting beds in them. But they were all equipped for beds, but they've never had to have that many in an emergency. But the unique thing is, okay, you get a kick out of this that we have. Well, when I was there 3 weeks ago, they were checking my kidneys and I got to have back surgery. Is the fact that there was 76 Canadian in the hospital, and that was Canadian that people were veterans, Canadian vets, because the Windsor Hospital has nothing, and neither does London. So next up the line is Toronto, and that's already booked pretty solid. So the problem is, it isn't a problem. It's one of those hidden things that we're lucky that the guy in the White House doesn't read. Is that in World War One, both U.S. and British forces shared military hospitals. If you got injured, whichever was closest, you were taken to and treated free. And even when you got shipped back, you'd be back to England if you were in Germany and treated there before you could go back to the States. And there's never a cost. It's a joint forces emergency medical system. So if I get hurt in Canada, I can go to any Canadian hospital and get free treatment. The same thing with a vet that was served in Nam and such, or any. Right now, the law still stands. If you served anywhere, you can go, but there's a lot of them in Windsor and surrounding area. So they kind of take up a piece of our hospital, and we're glad to do it. And we also take a lot of the Canadian uh, nurses, doctors, people that are already infected, that the hospitals here in Detroit can handle them because we got the extra beds and Windsor doesn't. We got the ventilators, Windsor doesn't. But that can never hit the news, at least under this president, or I'm sure it would stop. But that was signed back at the middle of World War One, that agreement. So it's kind of a secret, hidden thing. But the hospital stepped right up and did it. All the VA hospitals that were along the border did it.
That's cool. That's good to know.
Well, we're one country divided by a border and a political system.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. Just the border and politics.
Yeah, I ran into some Canadian Air Force. They came down to El Toro, California when I was stationed there. And other than the accent, everything else was about the same. It had all the same things in common. They come down with 130s, and we had 130s, so we all just talked about our aircraft.
And the Canadians drink you under the table.
Oh yeah, yeah. So do the British too, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, the British will probably drink Canadians under the table.
Nah, never.
No. Is Aussie beer watered down too?
I don't know. I don't drink. I must admit, I've never liked beer. I like an occasional liqueur or something like that, but no, I'm not an ardent drinker. My brother definitely keeps the breweries in business. That's for sure. But just never interested me.
That's all
Well,
right.
our beer is watered down compared to what we can smuggle across the border and bring over.
Yeah.
Canada's beer is much better. Higher alcohol content.
Yeah. Yeah. But your beer is cheaper. I mean, when I go to Alexandria Bay, I go across on my boat and I get like a case of 30 for half the price of a 2-4 here.
Yep. Is that based on tax, or is it just the manufacturer?
Both based on tax or provincial tax. Each province has a different tax. Ontario's 13%, which is HST and GST combined. But Alberta and BC, they only have GST. They don't pay HST. So they only pay a 5% tax. But their housing is less, but their goods and services and food and clothing are much more expensive than here. Whereas here, housing is more expensive, but our meat, our food, our produce, our clothes, our entertainment is less expensive. So it's relative across the board. You just pay different tax depending what province you're in.
And then you go to the territories, and it's just the Mounties make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Corrupt.
It's whether they enforce it.
Yeah. No spray honeybees back at busy at work. Huh.
At work. That's his wife. She does great pyrography. Quite an artist at it.
Cool. That's fun. It's always fun playing with fire.
Robo, what you up to?
Yes.
What are you making?
At the moment, I'm just listening to the accents and everything, and listening to different taxation systems, and having a cup of tea.
Cool.
No, I thought you might want to show Cade your 40-foot lathe. I don't think
Oh
he's
well,
seen
it's
a
a 40
40
foot.
foot.
It's a 40-foot bench at the moment. It's
So
kind of got
most ladies
garbage.
are.
Kind of got garbage all over it. We have a bad thing of flat surface syndrome here. Any flat surface gets filled.
Yeah, I think that's
I'll give you a
everywhere.
quick. I'll give you a quick look if I can. Hold on, I'll just change the cameras over. Jay,
Yeah.
I'll go dark for a second or two while it gets in. All right. Well, that's the tailstock end there. That's not the. It actually has two layers on it. Hold on. I've got to be able to aim this thing. We have another lathe set up on the end, but when we're not using the full length of it, and then we work down it, and yeah, that's the other end of it down there. I had to cut the wall of the workshop out to fit the headstock in, and still be able to close the doors on the other end. So it's just my little pet.
Wow. That's cool. Who's the make?
And then, sorry.
Who's the make of the lathe? Or
This one was custom built to my design. I designed it, and I would have built it at the same time, but I ran out of time, so I had an engineering place build it for me. And the best about it, over its entire length, there is only 1 millimetre deviation between tailstock, so it's almost perfect.
that's not
Then,
bad.
of course, we've got another one down the back. That one's only, at the moment, it's only 2.1 metres between centre. That one down there. But it extends out to 3.4 metres with the bed. You can wind the bed out, so it extends right out. That's a big wadkin. Then we've got another wadkin there, or another two wadkins sitting there. I've got 17 lathes altogether, but I just don't like seeing old machinery thrown away, so I tend to buy them to save them, and I store them, and it's just my little hobby. And then, of course, we've got table saw there, bandsaw over there, ex-butcher's bandsaw, converted, and an essential piece of equipment here is a forklift, which is sitting out there.
Yeah.
And another big old ex-military drill. It's got a 12-inch throw on it, so they can drill 12-inch holes down through it, and the thicknesser and everything behind it. So, and then there's another machine shop out the back as well for all the wood machining.
Wow.
But that's my
cool.
playpen.
What do you turn 40 foot long? Like pillars? House
Flag
pillars?
poles. Yeah, flag poles, porch, well, what you'd call porch pillars, veranda posts,
Like porch lights?
decorative posts for spiral staircases in two-story houses. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, and like the front
We do a lot of
light
veranda posts and things.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
The max I got on my big lathe is 4 feet. But I have the bed extension.
Be a baby.
6, but I mean, I don't turn anything longer than that anyway.
Yeah,
You're a wise
I
man.
have. Mine's 40 inches, and that's it.
On the outboard, I've done a 4.5 foot diameter bowl though for a Japanese buckwheat noodle chef who needed a big, heavy bowl to mix his buckwheat noodle dough in, so it wouldn't walk across the floor. So that was pretty fun and intimidating doing that piece.
Yeah, we've done, I'll leave it in your measurements. We've done 7-foot tabletops for a Chinese restaurant. They wanted leather inserts, a leather insert put around the inside, And
Yeah.
one company tried it with a router and absolutely stuffed it up. So we ended up having the job of redoing them all and turning them all up. That was good fun. A 7-foot piece of timber rotating in front of you.
Turning on the lathe, 7-foot diameter.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that'd be fun.
There's a few packets of Valium used that day, I'll tell you.
I bet.
And he does production. He was just doing lamps. They were so good, they reordered it. I don't know how many hundred you did, but it was interesting.
200 altogether.
Wow.
Now I can now that I've got the order out, I can actually show the shape. That's what they were.
Oh, okay. The stem of the lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robo, I haven't seen him use much other than a skew.
You have a Russian lathe knife yet?
We do use. I've tried them, and I must admit, it's probably because of education and everything. I still prefer my skew chisel.
Yeah. I love the skew chisel. I just acquired one of these Russian lathe knives and I've been tinkering with it for probably 2 months, but I still always resort back to the skew.
Yeah, well, what you got to remember with the Russian lathe knives too is that they're normally working with wet timber for starters, and it is you've got to have so much hanging over the rest. I feel uncomfortable with it because you use a totally different hold on them too. You actually have your hand in between the rest and the work, which I don't particularly like, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I don't hold it the way they do it. In case it kicks back, I don't want it to lop my finger off. I do an overhand hold on my tool rest. So if it were to kick back, I'm holding on to the tool steel and it's not going into my hand. It'll go into the tool rest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I must admit I do the same, but I think it's like everybody that you adapt to the tools that you're used to or what you've been taught to use, and well, it's hard sometimes to change your own way you do things, you know.
Yeah.
Hard to change, hard to teach an old dog new tricks,
Yeah,
right?
true.
I don't know. I've learned a lot of new tricks over the years, and I'm an old dog.
Yeah, but we're talking muscle memory tricks.
Yeah, yeah. That's more what I get in.
Yeah, I know what you
I
mean.
mean,
Yeah,
if we quit learning about either our trades or our hobbies, or like I'm sitting here watching wood turning when I'm a stroller, if we give up on that, then we're done. We
Yeah.
dead right. Like I like some of the effects, for instance, that people get out of resin, but I have no desire to try resin at all.
Same.
I've done a fair bit of fiberglassing over the years, but resin to me just doesn't do it, I'm afraid. But
Yeah,
by the same token, I admire the effects that you can get with resin.
yeah.
yeah. I just started doing it about 3 years ago, but what I have used it for is in urns, and that's where I got it because someone would say, "Here's a piece of wood. Can you make an urn for my husband, kid, whatever?" But the wood is to the point where they've got holes in it or whatever. So then I'll take and use resin and use some dark colors, violet, stuff like that, and fill them, and then turn it. And it's more of an accent point
Yeah.
in order to make the piece of wood secure. But that's it. Put a little glitter in it once in a while.
Yeah, I must admit, some people go overboard with decoration and resin. You know, like I've got an old saying, and I'll probably be
Yeah.
hated for this, but my old saying used to be, "Those that can't turn, decorate, and burn." You know.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way. It's very easy to go overboard with color and texture and embellishment, and just
Yeah.
it's so easy to go overboard and overdo it, and then it looks like too much. It's like tacky and looks too overdone.
Well, the first decorated stuff I ever came across was probably nearly 40 years ago by a bloke, an English turner named Mick O'Donnell, or he's actually a Scottish turner, Mick O'Donnell. And his timber, because they were using a lot of bass timber, it's just a plain white or a very dull yellow. So in order to things, what he did was put a wide rim around them. And because he lived on the coast of Scotland, all the Arctic terns and everything were there. And his wife was an excellent artist, and she used to paint an Arctic tern on them around the rim, and they looked absolutely fantastic. But yeah, some people just go decorate for the sheer sake of decoration, I think. It doesn't
totally.
enhance it, it takes it away from it.
Yeah. Like a slight accent or like embellish it to enhance it slightly is great, but it's so easy to go overboard and then it just looks, I don't know. I don't like it.
Well,
Yeah, but if that's what the client wants, you give it to them.
Yeah, if that's what the client specifically wants and asks for, yeah, of course, the customer is always right.
No, like we used to do a lot of craft markets in the early days, and shiny sells. You can't beat that. It's a simple fact of life. The shinier something is, the better it will sell 99% of cases. But when you do gallery work, they don't like shiny stuff. It's got to be about 30%.
Yeah, true.
So you just got to pick your market. That's all there is to it.
At least my primary stuff for 20 years of turning were urns, and ashes don't care.
No.
Well, this is right.
That's true.
It's like those big high-end decorative caskets. You know, they're beautiful, but once it's in the ground, it's pretty much junk then.
Yeah.
Versus just a straight up pine wood box or something. That's scenario.
Well, I reckon
it's true.
They're releasing cardboard caskets now, and I reckon that's the ideal thing. If you're going to be burnt or buried, what does it matter what you go out in?
Yeah, true. You're going to decompose anyway.
Yeah.
Dead right.
Well, cardboard's always been used for cremation since as long as I've known of. But here in Michigan, because of the water table, you have to be buried in a vault unless you're up till 15 years ago or 20 years ago. You even had to be in a vault if you put an urn in the ground, which made no sense because what are you going to get from powder? There's no bacteria in it. But that's what everyone's afraid of in cemeteries because they're a little bit above water level and some places below water level in Michigan. So that's the biggest problem. That's why urns are popular because they're a lot cheaper than preparation to put a casket in the ground because you got to have a concrete vault in it first.
Yeah, it's rather interesting. This is just an aside sort of thing, but a meeting of funeral directors about 15 years ago, they brought up the subject of decomposition of a human body, And in the last 50 or 60 years, it's actually gone up. Instead of decomposing in, say, 5 to 10 years, they're taking 20 or 30 years now because of all the preservatives in our food. And I thought that was pretty interesting, actually. So we're embalming ourselves.
Pretty much, yeah. Bomb
I've
ourselves.
always said that I've always said that before I get cremated, I'm going to take a drink of nitroglycerin or something and blow the place apart.
Well, on the decorative side, a lot of people now are full of plastic.
Yeah. Or go out in C4 in a C4 suit, you know.
Yeah.
Then they classify you as a terrorist, and that's how you go down in history.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, why are you cutting from the inside out? I've taught
Pardon?
you better than that. Jay, cutting from the centre out. No, outside in, Jay.
On a side grain bowl. Yeah. Rim to base.
He's been working that long on bloody end grain. You come from the outside in, not inside out. You've been working on too many end grain bowls.
Yeah. Apparently.
He'll still work. He'll just have a lot of tear out coming up the sides.
Yeah. In case you don't know, Kate, I've been teaching Jay for the last 5 or 6 months, and
okay.
I've got a reputation at yelling at him.
No problem. I just thought that was an Aussie thing. No.
No.
I'm just joking.
No, when he started, I cringed watching. Then I become amazed at what Robo was doing as a teacher and how
the progression.
Great instruction. Always positive.
No. He's come a long way, I'll tell you.
How long has he been turning so far?
I started turning in 1974, so quite a while. Over 40 odd years.
Now, Jay, how long has Jay been turning?
Jay.
Oh, Jay, about 12 months, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah,
that's pretty damn good. Your leg, Jay?
Pardon?
Jay, when he got his leg.
He's going to answer us now.
Sorry, what was the question?
How long have you been turning for now?
Well, do you want for as long as I've actually been turning, or from when I actually learned how to turn?
Well, okay, yeah. When you gave up turning wood to becoming a wood turner.
Well,
wow.
I've had my lathe for a year and 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
So, and Robbo's been teaching me for the last 4 or 5 months.
Good night, Steve. You sleep well.
Thanks for coming in, Steve. Take it easy.
Now, Joe, you could make an interesting bowl. You'd do something interesting with that and just basically leave it like that and sand off the rough edge or smooth the rough edge around the top and just leave it like that. Because it's fairly even, funnily enough.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go any further down here. I was going to try and go in, but I've got like, I don't know if you can see all those cracks there. Look, I think it might be super glue.
I think it might be become a UFO actually.
How many of those have I made? None.
None so far. You've been
None.
lucky.
Yeah.
But
I've had plenty of people come in here and say that's firewood.
Yeah, well, even I have doubts about this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, right. What were you going to say? Did I keep interrupting?
No, I was going to say, if you just left it, smoothed out the inside now, and then just take the sharpness off those edges and leave it like that. That looks pretty interesting.
Right.
If you go too thin, the centrifugal force might pull those cracks apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of figured it would have done that already, to be honest, but lucky it hasn't.
Well, they're not cracks, they're chasms.
Yeah.
Canals.
Yeah.
I'm just putting finish on stuff on my finishing table.
Okay, you were showing something there a minute ago. Was that a finial?
No, that was another Harry Potter wand.
Oh, okay.
I can show you here. I'll just get some better light up over here. There we are.
Can you just?
Yeah, I think
just
what
put,
was it? 2 months. Pardon?
Can you just put?
Oh.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah, about 2 months ago, I was commissioned to do a couple Harry Potter wands. So I did Harry's wand and Hermione's wand. Since they got those, delivered them, they loved them, they ordered more. So now I'm doing the Elder wand, and here it is here. It was turned and then carved and then stained and then painted, and the hieroglyphs were painted on. So where's the light? Block some of that.
Yeah.
Then here's the hieroglyphs, or whatever the hell they're called. And then here's the wand.
You're a clever bugger, aren't you?
So that was all turned and then carved and then stained and then painted, and then now it's getting all shined up, and it's going to go in a shadow box with the other ones. Their kids are just crazy for pottery. So, yeah, a lot of my work's custom stuff. I do some production, some gallery type things for gift shops and stuff, but majority of my stuff's custom.
What were you trained in?
When?
As a trade.
As a trade, I sent myself to college and university, and I took biotechnology technologist. So I would have been working in laboratories, doing research, making coronavirus vaccines, doing test tube babies, fertility, cancer research, working in a laboratory for a living. But after
you make less money now.
No, but I make about the same, but I love what I do now.
Oh.
Well, that's a difference.
Yes.
So I don't have to work for some ass. I work for my own.
Well, I've often said that I don't go to work.
No.
I don't have a job. I do what I enjoy, and it happens to put bread on the table.
Yeah. I work a little
But that's-
harder, but I love what I do. So I like working with my hands rather than my head.
Well, I must admit, I've been self-employed since the 1st of April 1974, April Fool's Day. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever regretted it. I actually enjoy going to work.
Yeah, every day is different. I mean, every day is different. I can pick and choose what I want to do. You can say no and love what you do.
Yeah, well, that's it.
We get to play every day.
Yeah, I've been a research scientist, and I just enjoy that, and made pretty good money out of it over the years. But I don't consider it a job. I just considered it an adventure, being able to think up crazy stuff and then get a team together and make it work. Like, who'd ever thought you could actually put video on a phone line? We did it, and have a network where you could actually have computers talk to each other outside of a building. You know, before the internet. But I was a ham operator, and I used to get in trouble at 10 years old for talking to my neighbor friend down the street, my age, using Morse code, where we had run the wires along the fence line. And then that went to becoming both ham operators. So we didn't need the wires, and then went into more and more electronics. And then I ended up, getting PhD and then become a research scientist. That just means you invent stuff that other people make money off of.
Yeah, well, I've done that a few times, don't worry. I've had a few ideas over the years, and people with more clout and incentive and probably foresight than I had ended up making the things and marketing them and making a fortune off them.
Yeah, when I went to work for the government, I ended up, for some odd reason, and they found the way to do it, losing 5 patents.
No, I'm actually a motor mechanic and diesel fitter by trade, which I never regret doing because it gave me insights into so many different things. And I was fairly lucky. I got sent on every course that was going. So, and the internet was invented for me because I got an unquenchable thirst for knowledge on certain things. So,
Yeah, I was on the standards body for the internet standards, communication standards, modem standards, all sorts of them. And then I got other stuff that I had done, like the banking card stripe, mag stripe on a card. But that was weird. That just had someone from Pan American Airways, which doesn't exist anymore. But they wanted to be high tech, and they wanted a ticket that was high tech. And punch cards had just come out to where major companies were using them for data storage, so they could sort stuff quickly. And some white ass person in Pan Am said, "Can we make this a ticket?" And they decided to go and do it so the passengers would have a high tech ticket. Problem was the card readers were too expensive. So I got asked to solve it, and I stuck a bit of recording tape on the edge of it and came up with using a constant speed motor and a read write head off of a cheap Radio Shack cassette recorder, and we could suck it in and read it and spit it out with some accuracy, and they loved it. From there, it went to a company to build it, and Pan Am used it, and then other people, what else can we use this for? But at that time, the patent was owned because I was a researcher at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. They ended up owning the patent, and I didn't know that. But it just bloomed from there. But if you invent it, if you work for the government or a university, you get nothing out of it. I know.
Personally, Joe, I wouldn't worry about filling any of the cracks. I'd just leave them. Sorry, Bob. Personally, I wouldn't worry about filling all the cracks. I'd just leave them there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
A very rustic bowl.
Character.
I didn't want this one here because that's the biggest one out of all of them. I didn't really want that one coming off in my hand, so it was just a little bit of security, I suppose.
Yeah, all right.
So a reinforcement instead of a removal of the site of it.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Hey, Robo, I went and watched your first video, the basic 101 of turning, the safety video. That was pretty good.
Thank you. I'm actually proud of that video set, the 4 of them, because they've been picked up by over 200 clubs in their kits that they put together for beginners when they're starting out turning. So, yeah, very proud of that.
Yeah, that was good. That was the first one I'd seen. I've just been trying to expand on different woodworking and crafts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I tend not to be entertaining, if you like. Most of my videos are all on technical stuff that a lot of turners don't bother doing. They say, "Oh, this is how you do it, not why you do it." You know.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that in your first YouTube channel?
Yes. Yeah. Just
How
to
many
explain to
YouTube
Jamison
channels?
and Cade,
Sorry?
what happened was, just to explain, I've got 2 YouTube channels. It's ridiculous. When I started going live, YouTube gave me another channel, and I'm too lazy to copy them all out and put them onto the one channel. So
That's cool. Are they named similar?
not really, but similar. Yes, it's funny. If you type in Robbo Robertson on YouTube, you generally get both ones, but there's all the live ones that I've done over the last 6 or 7 weeks are all on a totally different channel on the original channel.
And the original one is RoboCop Robo_CP.
No, that's Rob CP. Mine are
Okay.
under Oswood Turner 1. Under Oswood Turner 1 or Robbo Robertson.
Yeah, I seen Robo Robertson.
Okay. We'll have to check them out. I don't even remember what my channel is called, but I mean, there's no videos on there yet anyway.
No, well, sometimes I must admit, to get into my own channel, I just put in the search engine Robbo Robertson YouTube and work my way in from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one that I haven't done much with it in a long time. At one time I had, about 40 items up, but they were training videos for Tech Shop, and when Tech Shop went under bankruptcy, I had to take them down because they were the property of Tech Shop. They were pretty good, edited, and how to do stuff, a lot of different things on the lathe that we had in the shop, and how the process of design comes in place, and who you can get help from within our specific shop. And that was fun doing that.
Yeah, I just put a link in the chat for Robbo's channel. That's his instructional channel, not his live channel.
And Engine Monkey's in as well. So, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, that's Jamison in the chat, Robbo.
Oh, it is Jam. Sorry, Jamison. Yeah, right. I knew there was a correlation there somewhere.
Yeah, that's my Facebook page where I've been starting to put some of my creations, my scroll saw completed projects, some of them that are in work and whatnot.
Yeah, I actually had a look the other day at yours.
Yeah, did I invite you to it, or
must have been
no?
in the
Because
middle.
I just got it.
No, Jay did. I take it with the sergeant that you must have been in the forces, were you?
Yeah, the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a sergeant major.
Nice. Yeah. When I was down there in Catherine with our C-130s, there's one guy come up to help us change out a propeller, I think it was. He comes out with this farm tractor with a big jib on the front. He's wearing his shorts and his boots and all that, and he's supposedly military. I was like, okay.
Oh, we got a different system out here to a large extent.
Yeah. And it was the middle of winter down there for you guys.
I'm not really sure if Catherine really has a winter, to be honest.
I don't know. When we first got down there, it was cold. It was cold at least at nights. But then again, we were also staying in tents when we first got there until the first deployment went back home.
Yeah, no, temperature always drops at night. Definitely.
Yeah. Like in most deserts. Or in barren areas.
Yeah.
Hitting the bottle again, AJ.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Your own home brew.
Yeah. Woo! There we go. Watch that soak in. Bloody hell. Like a sponge.
Just don't put a lighter to it, it may blow up.
I don't smoke, so it's all good.
No, that's Jimmy Clues' trick, setting fire to things.
Yeah,
as long
he's
as
quite a character.
As long as Robbo doesn't come in here, we're all good.
What's the finish?
It's basically Obi Shine juice, but I've taken out the boiled linseed oil and put walnut oil instead.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just a little bit shinier, that's all.
You know, Jay, funnily enough, I like that. I like that.
Do you?
Yeah. The
I did
bowl,
something
mate.
you like. Whoa, I got to sit down.
Yeah.
Oh, I
better.
like the goblet that you did yesterday too.
Goblet, I thought that was an Aussie shot glass.
Yeah.
Well,
was,
whatever.
yeah.
Hold a pint.
I'm going to use half of this bottle on this. It's just soaking it up. Oh, here comes another chopper.
Yeah, I felt it.
Right, this one's not landing on my roof like the other one.
Have they got the electrified track all in so they can use it yet?
No. It's most probably a good 3 or 4 months off before they can do that. That bit of a COVID scare we had here, that kind of slowed things down too.
They're down the line from you now?
Yeah, they've started doing them about they're about 30 k's down the track from us, and they've got about another 30 k's after that to do. And that's just the northern line. There's a southern line as well. I don't even know how much they've done of that one, so I don't travel down there. So don't forget your Rosella, folks.
What?
Your Rosella, come on.
Oh,
Don't you like that sauce, Robbo?
Since 1885?
It's good stuffs.
that was a Melbourne.
It aged pretty well. It didn't look like it separated.
What was that, Robbo?
That used to be a Melbourne landmark, the Rosella factory. They had a huge lit sign with the Rosella on it in Richmond.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting to polish, isn't it?
Yeah, what you really need on the outside is a buff.
Yeah.
By hand.
A buff and wheel, you reckon, eh?
Yeah.
I got one of them somewhere. Somewhere being the operative word.
Dare I say it, but Eva must be sleeping in today.
Shh! Don't say her name. Maybe she's trying to sort out her Amazon stuff.
Yeah.
How you going, Sid?
Maybe. G'day, Sid. Lunchtime over in South Australia, is it for you?
I said,
You want a link, Sid? Yeah, I'll send it
Yeah,
to you.
okay, he says.
Beat him to it.
Didn't you buy some buffs the other day that you put in the drill or something?
Yeah. It's flat, all right? Give me a
That's
break.
Hey?
Yeah. I said the drill's flat.
Oh, right. Well, you're wasting your time trying to do it like that.
Oh, at least I tried.
I'd probably put another 2 coats on.
Yeah.
How are we, gentlemen?
Yeah, all right, yourself?
Oh, yeah, I've had a good day. Been out dealing with grumpy people all morning. It always cheers me up.
Nice one.
Oh, you got more grumpy people in there now, Sid.
Well, that's right. I don't have to take any notice of you lot, though.
I know that, yeah.
Hungry?
I heard that.
That's right, you were meant to. That's fine. I'd rather say it to your face than on your back. It's more fun.
Oh, that's right.
Well, while I've got you there, Sid, you ride for this Sunday at 9:30 in the morning, are you?
Yeah, I should be, mate.
Right, out, good talk.
Well, Sid, we got a new face on the
We'll
line.
see how much.
Who's that, Dr. Bob?
Yep. But I invited a mutual friend of ours to stick their head in, and Jay said, all right. He's from Ontario, Canada, and he's busy working in his shop now.
Aha!
Hello. Hi, how's it going?
A Canadian.
Yeah. Hey.
How's about that?
Yeah, Jesus. You're right back.
Geez, Sid, you're starting to get a bit hairy now, mate.
It's getting there, mate, isn't it?
I think you're about
Yeah, you'll soon
beat
be able to
Robo.
play
There you go.
Yeah,
You could survive our
sure.
winter.
it.
A bit of a plant through it.
Jay must be feeling the odd man out at the moment without a beard and a mow.
I don't want one.
Can he grow
without
one?
hair.
Yeah, sorry, I can't grow facial hair, sorry.
Jay still got the baby face.
Yeah, I have. I got I only have to have a shave once every couple of weeks. I'm serious. Everyone else that has their 5 o'clock shadow, it takes me weeks to get that.
Wow. I got a full beard in like 2 days.
I had a shave this morning.
All right, keeps me warm in our winter. I'm walking through 4 foot of snow.
Yeah, my wife says I can only grow a full-grown beard in the wintertime just for that, especially working outside all day.
Well, this one's to stop me from getting sunburned.
There you go.
But she also said I can't go back to a baby face like Jay either.
Everybody's got a reason for a beard.
Well,
I
I've
don't
had a
have a beard.
goatee
I
ever
never
since I
will.
met my wife.
Whoa, 3 at once.
Yeah, that'll blind the
I
camera there.
reckon my face,
Okay.
Just got to put some.
my
I'm glad about
wife,
the beard. I would have got
my
sunburnt
wife says
then.
that I've got a, yeah.
Wow, what a
My
thing.
wife says that I've got a funny face, so I've got to keep my beard on.
No comment.
Yeah, he lives so close. No comment.
Well, I've had my beard since the first I could grow it, the day I got out of the military.
I think you better put your face on the camera, Robbo.
I was lucky.
He's not
I
listening.
could retain mine for the job I was doing.
What, radio work?
No, I could maintain my my beard. And it's only been off 3 times since I was 17. 4 times.
Yeah, mine hasn't. Well, I made the big mistake as a POW. I turned the wrong way with a guy that had a knife around, with a hold with a knife, and I turned into the blade. So I'm not very happy with the scar, so I use it to hide it. That way it doesn't remind me of it.
Very cool.
Well, that's the main reason I grew one. I went through the windscreen of a mate's car. We had a prank, and I got bad scarring all in under my throat and everything. Plastic surgery didn't hide it very well. So I grew a beard and it's hiding it quite well, thank you.
Yeah. Though I do need to get it trimmed back, but I can't trim my own hair because I have no depth perception, because I only use one eye at a time. And unless you can have parallax, you don't have depth perception. But I was kind of born
That's
that
right.
way. So I switched
Tricky way to
between them.
use your eyesight up, Dr. Bob.
Well, I was born with this eye rolled up in the head, looking that way. And as this eye moved, that would move separate, and it freaked people out. But the problem was, when I was 2, nobody was doing eye surgery. To do something like that, it didn't exist yet. Except we were lucky, and I thank God for it. At the hospital here in Detroit, Bon Secours, that's where one of the doctors that we got from Hitler's Germany, because when Germany got conquered, all their expertise and everything was taken from the country, the population, and it was between the Axis countries, got scientists and doctors and stuff. But one of the things we got the people to build the atomic bomb, of which later on we found out Germany had too. We're very close to it, but we got von Braun. But the problem is that we happened to have in Detroit to teach at a teaching hospital eye surgeon that experimented on prisoners, Jewish prisoners in their POW camps for eyes and eye surgery and stuff like that. And he had successfully reattached muscles and being able to move eyes around in the head. And I was just ultra lucky. My parents were that they had a choice: take the eye out and give me a glass eye, or try this doctor from Germany. But he was forbidden to touch a scalpel by law. He had to direct people to do it. So they did it 3 operations later. But give you an idea, in front of a camera here, I can put my fingers apart. And right now, to me, they look like if I brought them together, they would touch. But as I move them, and I can see they don't on the screen, but if I just look at them, when I get about there, I realize that this eye's way off because they moved it down with a muscle, but the brain at that early an age didn't really allow me to merge the two eyes into one picture in my head.
Yep.
How you going, John?
Hey,
John.
That's why my glass is correct for that.
I've got a bloke at the council here who's got a similar sort of, not as extreme as what yours was, but he's got one eye looks straight ahead and the other one looks at about 10 degrees out.
Yeah, they're doing marvelous stuff with surgery. They can readjust an eye. They told me that here last summer, the Kresge Eye Institute here, their headquarters is actually next door to our Veterans Hospital. It's a big research center that Stan Kresge of Kmart and Kresge stores here in the States and Canada remember, but that's all they do, and they train eye surgeons. And they're connected to our VA hospital, as they are with Detroit Receiving Hospital, Wayne State Medical College. That's where they get their doctors before they go into eye surgery and that. So they looked at me and I walked in, and it was really weird because surgery is only done under the age of 4, 5 at the latest, because the brain can't correct after that. So I go in and for a meeting, an appointment, and all these kids in little chairs and a few adult ones in the corner, and then they take me in, and the doctor that was looking at me after doing an evaluation and putting fancy stuff and looking inside the eye, he says, "We can move the muscles." He said, "But I'll tell you, the brain's still not going to connect it." He said, "We have done that and it doesn't reconnect. Mentally, you can't put the two pictures together. So you'll still be slightly off or whatever, but if your eyes still switch." And then after that, about an hour of that, all of a sudden they bring this, "Would you autograph this book?" Like, what? There's a textbook written, and on patient 1 in the textbook is a baby, and they wanted my autograph on the article that was written about me at the time from the operation notes. I had no idea that was in a textbook.
You're famous and you didn't know it.
Yeah, I had 8 books to sign. And I still get it. I was in for an eye checkup at the VA, and the specialist from the Kresge came over, and he had one with him. He says, he said, "I've got an intern that works with us." Intern. He already has his MD. He's already a surgeon, so he's going beyond that, like the doctoral level. But he'd like to know if I could get you to sign this book.
$20.
The important fact, Dr. Bob, is do you get any royalties out of it?
No, I didn't even know I was in it. I remember the surgery. I remember the second one coming out of it. And that's what scared me to no end, because they always wore a patch ahead of that. But looking up out of the crib, and they were big metal bars on the crib, because I was just a baby, like 3 years old, 4 years, 3, probably 3.5. And the doctor came in and he had 3 eyes. And that scared me to no end, because what he had was the big old, you guys don't know, but the old reflector with a hole in it, so they could shine, put it down over their eye and reflect the light. I thought that was an eye as a baby. And I remember taking the bandages off and seeing a 3-eyed person. And according to my mother, I went like this because I wanted to see if I had a 3rd eye now too. But I was just about 3 years old.
I can understand that.
Hey
What do you
Jay,
mean?
what are you putting on your bowl?
It's basically just OB Shine juice, but I've taken out the boiled linseed oil and replaced it with walnut oil. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's about it.
I'd let it before you try polishing. Yeah, I'd let it soak in, let it a couple of days.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the work. I love the work that some scroll sawers can do. I haven't got the patience for it. I've tried it.
You haven't tried hard enough then.
Now, if I was, yeah,
You seen Robbo
I'm
turn
cutting
his
these out.
half-inch bite with a chisel. He's not happy.
I'm
Sorry,
cutting these
I
out
can't hear anything.
individually
They're all
because
talking at once.
Oh. You go, Jamison. Go.
I said I was going to stack cut all these, but I didn't have enough material to cut squares out of, so I was just using some scrap material, and
Oh, look at
I
that. Sorry.
said I was just using scrap materials and nesting the different designs in there.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm having to cut them out one by one. I got 42 of them to do.
Yeah.
Well, better you than me.
You
Yeah,
use a
it was.
spiral cut.
I'm afraid.
No,
I'm afraid that I learned a long time ago that one of my friends had a laser cutter, and geez, it does a nice job on wood. Just cuts out any shape you want.
right.
It takes all the fun out of it though.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Unfortunately, scroll saws and I don't get along too well.
I can't say I get along with a lathe because I haven't touched one yet.
To each their own. That's right.
Like I said earlier, I'm trying to expand out of. That's one tool I haven't got an option to use yet.
Well, I know when our
if you
wood
live
turning.
closer, if you live closer, you can come and use any of mine, Jamison.
Next time I'm out that way, I will.
That's true, south of the border.
You're always welcome.
Doesn't tell me that though.
Like you were going to wait for an invitation, mate?
I'm waiting for an invitation, but I won't get one.
When COVID's over,
You're welcome across there
school.
anytime you like.
I think Julie would shoot me on sight.
She wouldn't.
That's Robbo's wife, by the way. I couldn't afford to drive there on the tight ass.
No. Julie's quite used to having strange people turn up here, I'll tell you.
Well, she married a strange person, so.
Well, that's
today, Sid.
right. Very strange.
Well, it's only a bad thing if it's not true.
How's she handling retirement?
Oh, my internet's freaking out.
Loving it.
So you get breakfast in bed now?
No, well, we had to go to a wedding last weekend. I was the best man at the wedding, and it was 42 degrees, and they had a beach wedding, believe it or not. And walking across the sand. She got 3rd-degree burns on her feet. So she's in a happy little chickie at the moment. If I could scroll, what do you do, John? Are you a wood turner, scroller, painter, decorator?
No, scroller. We'll go with that.
A scroller.
Yeah. I do everything. I do everything, but I don't turn.
Oh, yeah. And whereabouts are you in America?
North America, Alberta, Canada, Grand Prairie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
Oh,
Well,
so
another
now.
Canadian popped up.
I'm in
Oh,
Ontario.
We might
Yeah,
end up,
you're
we
in
might
Whitby,
end up
eh?
with every American.
Whereabouts in
We
Alberta?
might end up with every American state in here shortly.
And you got 2 Canadian provinces, too.
Canadians are all taking over, eh?
Yeah, of course.
See?
Eh?
It's about time, eh?
It's
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah, but you got the toonie. I mean, I still got a drawer full of them. I thought I'd save them. They'd be worth something someday.
They might be worth $1.60 next year.
I'm losing money.
That's great.
Sorry, John, I insulted you by calling you an American.
No, it's North America.
Oh, it is it? Right.
And
Yeah,
the
he's our
border's
northern
almost
cousin.
invisible.
We're in our igloos up here.
See, we Canadians don't take offense to that, whereas an American would.
Some Canadians do, but not all.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kate.
I don't.
Sorry.
Actually,
No problem.
I actually lived with a Canadian couple for about three months, and the first time I met them, I did insult them and say they were Americans, and they wouldn't talk to me for a week.
I remember stories my dad told me over in Germany and stuff that they met the Americans when they're touristing. They would throw Canadian maple leaves on their backpacks, so that everybody would think they're Canadians, because Canadians get more respect and people will actually talk to them, whereas Americans won't back in the day.
So by throwing a Canadian maple leaf on their backpack, they're actually signifying that they were US citizens?
No, Canadians.
Trying to look like Canadians?
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
The same in France, in Paris, that they think a lot of Australians are English, and of course the French hate the English. And, until they find out you're Australian, you'd get treated pretty badly.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
Well, I got dual citizenship, U.S., Canada, so I've had that since birth. It screws it up. I got to carry 2
depending on where you are, it's what you are.
Well, I was born in the States, but my father was Canadian, and that gave me dual citizenship if they were military. It still does if you're family heritage is from Canada and you're the first generation. But they moved down from Canada to have me born in the States. Because there was a support family for me when I was born down here where there wasn't, because my dad's brothers was all in the Canadian Navy, 7 of them, and they were all out, and there wasn't a place that they wanted to leave me to raise me. So my grandmother on my mother's side took that on. My mother was a USO entertainer, a singer. So I got both citizenships.
My brother worked in New York for about 8 or 10 years. He's got 4 kids. And when they started school, he finally moved out of New York and came back to Australia at a great pay rate cut because he didn't want the kids educated in America. I know that sounds terrible.
No. Canadian education bounces back and forth, which is better, but it's only by points, and it's not a national thing in this country, because in Michigan we judge and try to keep the same standards or a little better than across the border. But to us, it's just across the river. You know, it's before
a quick swim.
Trump. We used to, before Trump and the border closures and tariffs and taxes, we'd go over to watch a movie. We'd go over and buy a case of beer because it was better beer, and we didn't have to pay tax on it, so it was a lot cheaper for Americans to buy Canadian beer.
It's better beer because of the alcohol content.
Exactly.
Yep.
What's the alcohol content in Canadian beer?
Well, if you take Budweiser, for example, down the States it's 3%, but in Canada it's like 6.3, I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, in Australia we'd call Budweiser a light beer.
Yeah.
We have some beers that are 9%. Some of the craft beers, 9-10%.
Some of our craft beers are up around the 9% mark. Our standard beers are 4.95%, and then some of our specialty beers are up around 7%. And then the craft beers get up a bit higher.
We're about the same. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get up some of those heavier craft beers like the double IPLs, I tried one of those a couple of years ago on a 40-degree day. They don't go down well on a 40-degree day. They're just too heavy. But they're a really nice drink in the wintertime.
There's one up here called the Bone Crusher. I think it's something like 11%. It's a good one to start off the night.
Some people would finish off the night too.
Well, living in Alaska, they had very good local beers because they had a higher alcohol content than any state there was, and they were often smuggled into Canada in the Yukon. They'd pick up a keg or two, and the border people just look at it and pat it and say, "Do I get invited to the party?"
In other words, if you want me to carry this, I'm going to have some of
it. Well, they're on the Canadian-U.S. border in Alaska, the one that I go across often, probably 8-9 times a year, to Lions Club meetings, because I'm a lifetime member of the Lions Club International. It was like we brought the beer, and they loved the Yukon brew beer, and we'd bring the beer as long as we took back an empty keg. But the border people, they didn't know how to count. No insult to the Canadians, but there was always a keg missing, and the count was always right. I'm not saying where that keg got left at.
It's in my fridge.
Well, it was at that little road stop
Well, in Australia,
with the double flag on the white line. We kept the Mounties well fed with
in
border beer.
In Australia, when you're invited to party, you don't knock on the door, you kick it with your feet. And they won't let you in unless you do, because you're supposed to have a carton in your arms when you're there, so you can't knock on the door.
I think Jay wants to show us his finished product.
I don't think he's done the bottom yet.
Still doing the bottom. You're muted.
He's ignoring us.
He said, "Go on." You talking?
Oh, okay.
Well, no, you talk amongst yourselves. I'm fine.
You're the consummate host, Jay.
You done?
Someone else can host now. I'm going. Bye.
But I say, I like what Jay does because it's just like friends sitting around a shop.
Yeah.
Hey, Kate.
Cool. Yeah.
Can I ask a favour, please?
And what other YouTube channel does that?
Can we see your snakes?
Oh, you want to see my snakes? Sure.
Yeah. I don't know about anyone else, but I'd like to have a look.
Okay, this isn't that kind of show.
That's right.
Oh,
It's more.
X-rated? No.
yeah. Wait till you see his snakes.
That's the
We don't want
red
to see your
tube
trousers.
channel,
We don't want to see your trouser, Snake.
Yeah.
No, that's the biggest one of all.
Biggest breeder.
All right, here.
I bet that's a great deterrent against criminals breaking in.
No, not really.
They
I
don't
got
find out.
other things to deter them.
They're like a Russian tool.
Yeah. One of them. Let me see. Who's out? All right. Well, I'll take out the big guy. But here's the small guy. I wonder if I can switch my camera around here. I have no idea how to do that, so I'll use this camera. Oh, all right. Hold on. I'll put this here, and I'll grab a couple out of the cage.
Thank you.
Here's the smallest guy.
Oh yeah. Nice pattern.
Yeah.
What's
Really
he?
He's ball python, super pastel. And then his partner is a regular pastel, which is a female. She's right here. I'll pick her up. I gotta latch all the lids because I have a couple cats too, and I don't want them to be food.
Well, you know where they are if they go missing.
Yeah. Here's his partner, which is the bigger, thicker female.
Yes, much bigger, huh?
And she's about 6 feet.
Yeah, it's nice. I like that. Can't say I'd ever want to own one, but I like the looks of it.
Yeah. And
Nice,
then, so
nice
this
colouring on them.
Yeah, it is.
This one is Cleopatra. The male I showed you was Jake the snake. I don't know if you remember him
Oh,
from
I thought you would have
back
called
in
him.
the day when...
Yeah. Yes.
I thought you would have had Cleopatra and Mark Antony.
No. Cleopatra, Jake the Snake. This one down here is Medusa. Ooh, that's a big ass spider. I don't want those in here, just reptiles.
That was her dinner.
Right? Now this one is Medusa.
Wow.
This
Oh, I like
one
the iron
is
on her.
this one is a cinnamon.
Oh,
So a cinnamon pinstripe.
Yep.
Here's her head there.
Really nice patterns
And
on that.
And she's about 5.5 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So
don't
this
look at
is
when-
another female. So she'll be crossbred with Jake as well.
Yep.
And then I have another python, which is a desert. And that's the other male. So I'll show you him. And then after that, I'll take out the big boas. So this one's a desert. So he's more sandy colored than yellow and gold colored.
Yep. Yeah, it's
And
nice.
he's a male. He's probably 4.5, 5 feet.
Yep.
So I have 2 males, 2 females of the pythons, all different types. So when I breed them and crossbreed them, I get different morphs. And depending on the morph, the rarity of the morph, that determines the cost or the price.
Okay.
So it looks like a whole bunch of ghosts.
Do you have pet shops that you do that for, or just private?
Both. I do private retail, resale, and I also do wholesale to pet stores.
And this is some of what I do as part of my job.
Pardon? So the pythons will have the pythons have a clutch and they lay eggs. So the eggs have to be incubated and hatched. But off a clutch of pythons, I would get probably 8 to 12 babies. And depending on the morph, they can sell for $200 to $500 each.
Wow.
well, very nice.
And with the boas give a live birth to a live birthing sac, and they give birth from anywhere.
You're frozen, Cade.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. You froze when you said anywhere.
anywhere between 200 and 450 each. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I just got to plug in my phone here before it dies on me. That's what happened last time. It died on me while I was downstairs, so I had to stop back. All right, so this guy, that python, the male desert python, he was Falcor. Falcor from the Never-Ending Story. And now this is my big boa. He's a Brazilian red tail boa. Right now he is probably about 6.5, 7 feet. Fully grown, he'll be about 10. Fully grown, the female will be about 12. The boas are the ones you got to be careful with.
Yeah. He's very active, that one, isn't he?
He is, yeah. There. Once I get him out of his cage, he's fine. It's just the initial. They're on edge, like it might be dinner time. There we go.
Oh wow, nice patterns on that one. Wowzers.
Yeah. And his tail is red. So the
Yep.
red, they hide in the leaves, in the autumn leaves, and then they flicker the end of their tail, which almost looks like a worm, and then they strike with his black
Yeah.
tongue, lipstick.
Yeah, very cool.
So that's my male, and he's pretty strong,
Yeah.
and he's pretty big.
I was about to say, I hope we don't see you get constricted on live on camera.
No, he's pretty good.
He's a decent size, that's for sure.
Yeah, so he's the biggest and strongest so far. Here, get it in here and get my hand away.
Is that a skin on the roof?
Pardon?
Is that a skin on the roof, like what they shed?
This? No, this is just a stuffed
Toy.
animal snake.
I noticed
But
that as soon as
I do have a shed up here of the big boa.
Oh yeah. What snake's that from?
That's from the big guy I just took out.
Okay.
That was probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, so he's probably grown another foot.
Yep. How often do they shed?
Like once a month. And then the female is pretty much the exact same as the male. She's just a little smaller. And she's the antsy one. She's the only one that's ever gotten me. All the other ones have tried, but they've never got me yet. So let's see how she's doing today. Here.
Do you have anti-venom?
Yeah. So here is the female.
And they're very active compared to the other snakes, aren't they?
Yeah, these ones are a lot more active than the smaller ball pythons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got nice markings.
Thanks. No, she's a little smaller than the male, but they're pretty much the same age.
Yep.
Yeah. And in the back, you can see my... Oh, what happened there? Oh, there I am. There is a little rack for all my bowls drying. Because this room is heat and humidity controlled. So anything I turn wet goes in here to dry at a consistent rate, and it seriously improves my failure rate. So a lot of my bowls don't crack when they're turned wet. But I mean but the trick behind that too is also consistency, consistent wall thickness and consistent foot on the bottom and all that fun stuff.
It's a bloody big kiln you've got there.
Yeah. It's pretty
Well
good.
protected.
Yeah, well protected. A lot of people won't come in here. So there's one rack of drying bowls. There's another one over there. Oh, let me see. Yeah. And then on the
So
other wall, I have my knife throwing target. Knives and axes and all kinds of fun stuff. Chuck them across the room.
do you put the people's picture you hate on there so you get a better aim?
Sometimes. But I put a whole bunch of these foam pads up against the snake tank because I had one ricochet one time and it bounced back and hit a snake tank. That's just so I can practice year round. Throw it the other way in the spare room.
Yeah, the only time I've ever been around snakes was in Southeast Asia. And I just couldn't read. They kept saying the cobra is a big snake, and there's a lot of king cobras. And I remember being out on a patrol, and lo and behold, sergeant, it was maybe in country about a week and a half, still greenhorn, and he'd say, just be still and look. And then you'd see this snake stick its head up, and it was pretty tall. It could stake and almost look you in the eyes. And they say, but that's only a third of it in height.
Yeah.
That there is a 10-foot olive python.
Cool.
And this is a 6-foot brown snake shed.
Oh, okay. Do you have
Which
snakes
is the third,
too, or
the third
was
most
that
venomous
just
snake in Australia.
a shed as it walked across your front doorstep, or?
No, I was actually found it when we were out doing some rabbit control. It was in the start of a rabbit warren, and we saw the tail and just pulled it, and it just kept coming.
Cool.
So pretty impressive.
When I lived in Queensland, we're on a fairly big property up there, and we used to catch taipans for Queensland University in Townsville to extract the venom from them to develop an anti-venin for them.
Yeah.
It was a good job, actually. It wasn't bad.
So the brown snake, that's a venomous snake, isn't it? There.
Yeah, that's so
Not,
in Australia. There's a couple of arguments about where the level of venom sits. That generally accepted the brown and the tiger and the taipan are the top three.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Depending who you talk to,
nearly
which
all
one
our
gets number
snakes
one
are
and which
this
one
out
gets
here.
number three.
I'm gonna take off. I'll see you all later.
See you, Jack.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
See you later, Sarge.
Jonathan.
Take it
Take it
easy.
Yeah.
The one thing I do know about those three snakes is the brown is the one that's going to come for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Will
it's
it chase
funny
you?
because
Like
everybody,
the black mamba?
well,
They're African. We don't have them here.
everybody reckons that the tiger. Everybody reckons the tiger is the one that will chase you in Victoria anyway.
No, I've got tigers around home all the time, and they'll rear up if you corner them. But the likelihood with a tiger snake is if they give you a tap, it's going to be a dry tap to say bugger off out of my way. The brown comes at you, it's going to bite.
Gonna pump you full of venom.
We do quite a bit of snake training through work because I work in natural resources, and one of the first sessions we went to, the guy who was taking the session, he had the three venomous snakes that are relatively common around where we are, being the lowland copperhead, the tiger, and the brown. The lowland copperhead, he's just standing outside. He's got a 12-foot by 12-foot pit, 4 foot high under a cage, and he just standing outside the pit with the copperhead just running it through his hands like it was a snake. It was used to being handled. No glove, no stick, no nothing, just hanging onto it. The tiger snake, he got a pair of gloves out and he used a little short crook, and that was still outside the pit. Anyway, because snakes don't worry me too much, he got the brown out, but he went inside the pit and he's sitting up on a stool inside the pit, and this brown was a 6-footer, and they dropped it into the pit. It went across the pit, pushed itself up the wall as far as it could go, then launched itself back across the pit at him.
Oh wow.
He said
That's
that, you know,
crazy.
tigers will bite if they're cornered, but there's a pretty good chance when you get tapped by a tiger, it's going to be a dry bite. They're just warning you. Because it's
Yeah.
not, they don't have an attack mechanism. Their venom's for hunting, not really for self-defense or attacking. He said the browns can be much more aggressive.
And they'll all kill you.
Well, if you do the wrong thing, they
Yep.
will.
Yeah, that.
The funny thing with Australian snakes is the best thing you can do if you've got nothing else with you and you get bitten by a snake in Australia is to do nothing. Just don't move.
Just don't
Yep.
move. How are you going to get anti-venom and get to the hospital then?
If you don't move, you don't need anti-venom because Australian snake venom doesn't move through the bloodstream. It moves through the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system doesn't have an active pumping. It works with a series of non-return valves and muscle movement. So if you don't move your muscles, you don't move the venom. And if the venom doesn't get to your vital organs, it won't kill you.
Oh, okay. That's
So
cool.
the Aboriginals had a theory: if they got bitten by a snake, they go and lay down under a tree and wait to die. And they usually wouldn't.
Oh, they didn't need. They had an excuse to go and lie down under a tree.
Well, no. Well, that was, yeah. But so that's Australian snake bite. The first aid is to immobilise the limb and wrap it up full length in a pressure bandage, so that the muscles can't move and you can't transfer the venom through the lymphatic system.
Huh.
And all Australian snakes work the same way.
Okay. Here we have the diamondback and the Massasauga rattler, and we have a black water snake that are venomous. Oh, we also have a ringneck snake, which is venomous, but it's far too small to be fatal to humans.
Yeah, the lowland copperhead, while it's venomous, it's very unlikely to kill anyone.
The one thing I liked about Alaska,
in fact, you're
they had
more
no
likely to
snakes.
get.
Alaska had
You're
no
more
snake.
likely to die of the
No
infection.
snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ireland doesn't have any snakes. I don't think New Zealand does either, does it?
Really?
Not sure about New Zealand. England doesn't have any venomous snakes.
No.
Alaska didn't have any because of the permafrost. Everything was always, the ground's always frozen.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I appreciate you coming in. I'm going to knock it on the head.
No worries, Jay. Take care, mate.
All right.
Thanks for taking time to come and hang with us.
Yeah, no problem.
And
Thanks for having us.
welcome back anytime.
Sweet. Does it happen weekly?
Right, see you later, Jay.
No,
See you soon.
nightly,
Every
7 days a week.
Bob.
Pardon?
Every day.
Oh, okay. Every day, same time, same place?
So if you're bored,
Yep.
roughly, if you get bored, you know where to come, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. See you later.
See ya.
Take
All right.
care.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye now.
All right.
See you later.
Later.
No, you're right. Bye. Catch you later, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget a like or a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever floats your boat.